Thomas Keller, Uncorked.
Good evening. I'm Michael Okwu. The man you're about to meet tonight is a kitchen superstar who helped raise the bar on California cuisine around the world. A man who, like most modern chefs, has mastered the art of the cooking business, as well as cooking itself. Chef Thomas Keller created and oversees some of the world's most acclaimed restaurants, including the French Laundry in Napa Valley, which ultimately may be more an experience than a place. He's a man who practices a distinctive approach to being a successful boss, a creative businessman, and a coach to the young people he's training to be the country's next top chefs. Keller granted us unprecedented access to his world and to his struggles to become a true game changer in his profession. Tonight, Master Chef Thomas Keller, Uncorked. It's hard to imagine a more civilized way to make the morning rounds.
Phil, happy birthday.
But welcome to the gracious world of Thomas Keller, perhaps America's most celebrated chef. His commute most days is by foot. His destination, a restaurant that is the culinary equivalent of Mecca.
Morning, Chef. How you doing? How's everything good?
At the French Laundry, there is unfailing respect towards colleagues,
Morning, Chef.
clear reverence for the boss,
Morning, Chef. How are you?
an obsessive devotion to order,
Thanks for doing outside for me. Appreciate it. Thank you.
and an unrelenting focus on the mission.
To make people happy. That is what cooking is all about.
As the day goes on, this kitchen will hum quietly in pursuit of that mission, creating dishes unabashedly filled with butter, cream, eggs, the world's most exquisite ingredients, all harmonized with what Keller calls finesse, to become delicacies that will attract diners around the globe.
Morning. How are you?
Old world sensibility reigns at this tiny French restaurant, housed in an old stone building on a precious corner of California's Napa Valley.
See, this is per se.
But thanks to modern technology, its country charm is seamlessly integrated with the realities of overseeing yet a second world-acclaimed kitchen on another coast.
Like last Tuesday, I was there in the morning in that kitchen saying hi to these guys, and then I flew here and I got here in time to say hi to them.
We are standing in the kitchen of the French Laundry, connected by satellite cameras to Keller's other famous restaurant, Per Se, an entire continent and lifestyle away in New York City. So this is not Big Daddy looking over the clock.
It's strictly a sharing experience.
Sharing experiences, staying connected with his team, are at the heart of Keller's mantra and mission, and key, he believes, to his success.
Okay.
Which is why this morning he's still on the go. America only has 8 restaurants awarded the coveted Michelin 3 stars. Keller's French Laundry and Per Se are 2 of them, making him the only American-born chef ever to have attained that double honor. And as if running 2 powerhouse restaurants wasn't enough to keep one man busy,
Hey, Chef.
Keller is now moving on to Ad Hoc, another restaurant he opened in Yountville in 2006, which serves casual home-style cooking.
Hey,
Hello.
How are you doing?
How are you?
Hey guys, how's it going?
From Ad Hoc, it's on to the Bouchon Bakery.
Hello. I'm not even a pastry chef, let alone a baker. These guys are the bakers over here.
All of this production literally raking in the dough and attracting the kinds of crowds that when a second bakery opened this summer at New York's Rockefeller Center, its debut premiered on the Today Show.
Chef Keller, good to see you. Welcome to the neighborhood.
Good to see you.
From the bakery, it's on to the Bouchon Bistro, the 4th restaurant he owns in a town of just over 2,000 people.
How long has it been, huh?
How's he doing?
It's clear this setting, a former Wells Fargo stagecoach stop, holds a special place in Keller's heart.
It's the perfect size. It's got perfect feel to it. Proportionally, it's all there.
But do you ever just sort of stand over the room and just revel in the delight that people are having?
I don't usually stand in. I'll usually come and have dinner, and just kind of be part of the room and be part of the energy. And to me, that's what I love about this restaurant is that.
Be the fly on the wall.
Yeah, this reminds me of my time in France. There's so much nostalgia in that, and in this, for me, this restaurant could be in Paris without a problem. It could be in Lyon.
Cities Keller reveres, and with reason. It was, after all, a Frenchman who taught an all-American boy, who to this day has never had formal culinary school training, all about French cuisine.
I think the pinnacle moment that changed my life, that made me realize that I really wanted to be a cook, that I wanted to make this my career, was in July 1977, when I was working at a private club in Narragansett, Rhode Island, called the Dunes Club, and the chef was a Frenchman from Lyon named Roland Hennin, who made that connection somehow in me, that what we do as cooks, you know, at that very basic level, is nurture other people. And that really resonated with me. And that was the moment, that summer of 1977, when I decided, you know what, this is going to be my career.
Keller was born in 1955, one of 6 children, 5 of them boys. His father, Edward, was a Marine who, when Thomas was 5, walked out on the family. Thomas's mother, Betty, ran a small restaurant in Florida and needed help from her kids holding down the fort at home, and sometimes in the restaurant kitchen.
So I learned about organization and efficiency, because I had to do so many chores. I had to really be organized myself and be very efficient in getting them done. And I think that is a big part of any profession, being organized and efficient, but certainly being a chef.
Was she tough on you? Did the hammer come down?
Yeah, she was tough on us, yeah.
You had a tough mom who made sure that everything was clean and efficient, that you did it in an organized fashion, and you had a father who was a Marine drill sergeant.
Right, yeah.
Clearly this had an effect on you.
Clearly, and I think it was a very positive effect, because being in a restaurant, certainly in a kitchen, it has that kind of system. It's a very militaristic system.
Good evening, everybody.
All we had to do was attend the daily staff briefing before a Thomas Keller meal to witness that order at work. And watch every person in Keller's kitchen adhere to standards of organization that any army would envy. Without these essential ingredients, Keller insists he could never have built his reputation nor established his multi-million-dollar empire. Today, the Thomas Keller Restaurant Group runs 2 3-star restaurants and half a dozen more Bouchon bistros, bars, and bakeries across the country, each as incorrigibly efficient and spotless as the next. Somebody told me that when the new Bouchon bakery in Rockefeller Center in New York City was opening, you went back in there to give it one last fine polish. Now, why is somebody who's considered one of the greatest chefs in the world cleaning up his own kitchen?
For me, it gives me ownership of that space. To be there and to be intimate with it. You know, to be there and making sure that, you know, I've looked at the corners, I've scrubbed the floors, I've make sure that the stoves are cleaning, the ovens are working. To be one with that space and to make it my own, I need to work in there. And then that first working element, that first working moment is to clean. And that sets the standard, sets the example for the staff that's going to work in there.
It's hard to work for him and not drink the Kool-Aid. And I think it would be impossible to work for him if you hadn't drunk the Kool-Aid, because it would make you completely crazy.
Russ Parsons is the food editor for the Los Angeles Times, and after years of eating at the chef's table, a self-avowed Keller convert.
There are moments with Thomas's food where you take a taste, and I can't do anything but laugh. You know, I mean, it's just so perfect.
You get the sense that there's a dedication that borders on religious devotion. Is it pushing it to say that there's something of a cult of Keller?
There's definitely a Keller cult.
That cult is made up of diners, aficionados like Parsons, and more importantly to Keller, the family he's cultivated, even nurtured in those kitchens.
I need to establish a team that is highly motivated, who has great skills, capabilities, ambitions, goals in their life. And I need to supply them with a work environment where they can execute everything to my standards and even beyond my standards. You don't have soft-shell crabs in Mexico, do you?
It's important to Keller to provide everyone on his staff top dollar and the best benefits.
Now, we're not going to use the legs.
But they are here for another reason, to learn from the master chef the secrets of preparing perfect food, even when some of the lessons seem downright over the top.
When we store the fish, we always store it the way it swims. You've got the ice, which is very sharp. You know, you can already see. You can see a little bit. If I went like this, You could already see kind of the indentations from the ice. And if that stayed like that overnight, you can imagine how much pressure would be put on that flesh, and of course deteriorating the quality of the flesh. It starts to break it down.
So if somebody were to suggest to you that that's overly fastidious, you would say no.
No, not at all.
And in fact, Keller is convinced that if he's got an edge in the kitchen, it's not inherent talent that sets him apart, but the time he takes to address those minute details.
It's hard to say, and I still today don't know if I have a special talent. I look around and I see some really talented chefs out there, and I'm not sure that I belong in that group.
We've been warned that you're a very modest guy.
Yeah.
So I'm really going to push you on this.
Okay.
You had to come to a point when you realized you've got something going in the kitchen.
Well, I always knew that I was quick. I was a quick learner in the kitchen. I was able to keep my knives sharp and make precision cuts and cook, cook very precisely, over and over and over again. It was my drive, it was my work ethic, and I got a lot of that from my mother. We have the clams, the oysters, the lobster.
The staff buys into Keller's philosophy, whether on food, sustainability, or his deep respect for ingredients.
Which is the organic rice from the Po Valley. The producer there is Accarello.
Everyone is taught about the purveyors who supply the restaurants with their exclusive cheeses, butter, produce, and meats.
And then, of course, Legion Fields Farm lamb ribeye, Keith Martin's lamb from Waynesburg, Pennsylvania.
If there are two chefs who are equal at their capabilities, if one chef can get a better ingredient than the next, then that's the better chef.
You just love food.
I love the individuals around the food, the stories and the people, which are so important to me, the relationships.
You put a lot of attention to mentoring young chefs. Why is that?
You need to have somebody in your life who's going to be able to give you that advice, to help you understand the direction that you want to go in, understand the direction that you need to go in.
There's a true generosity there, and the way he celebrates and promotes the people that work for him.
Like most of Keller's former chefs, Corey Lee is devoted to his mentor. He was with Keller for almost 10 years, first at Per Se and finally as chef de cuisine at the French Laundry.
More than anything, he gave me the opportunity to understand how to run a restaurant and gave me the freedom to run a restaurant.
Today they are friends, even partners in Lee's San Francisco restaurant, Benu.
But what Thomas has always done, and he continues to do, is he wants to evolve existing techniques, even ones that he made himself, where he wants the young cook to make something he made 10 years ago better.
That's what I want for each one of my chefs, because I know that they're not going to be with me forever. The goal for me is to make sure that they stay focused, that they stay on track, and that I'm helping them achieve what they ultimately want.
We've been digging up these, providing 3 torquay flats per restaurant.
One of Keller's dreams was realized when he turned a vacant 3-acre lot across from the French Laundry into an organic garden.
Every day what happens here is that after the gardener's day, what they'll do, Tucker and Aaron, will go through and they'll make a list of everything that's available for harvesting the next day. And the quantity of those, what's available, and the size, because the size is very important. And that list goes to French Laundry, to Bouchon, and to Ad Hoc. So the garden has a lot of impact on what shows up on our menus.
The garden is of fantastic interest to me.
These Londoners organized their trip to America around a reservation at the French Laundry. Their waiting period was over 3 months, though it can be much longer.
Being real foodies, we really wanted to experience one of the world's top restaurants.
That reputation is built upon impeccable performance and international acclaim. There isn't a culinary award Keller hasn't won, including the ultimate recognition given by the French, the Legion of Honor.
Well, such an honor. Such an honor to meet you.
Thank you.
Charm and savvy public relations have certainly helped catapult Keller to near rock star status. But in the end,
it's delicious. It's wonderful.
Thomas Keller has won over people's hearts.
All the wines have been balanced with the food. It's been a terrific experience.
What is a fine meal to you? What do you want your diners to take away after they leave your table?
Well, what I want my diners to take away is clearly a wonderful memory of the experience.
Nowhere is the desire to create lasting memories more evident than at the French Laundry, where diners are typically served a dozen courses from a fixed menu, each only 2 or 3 bites. Keller believes the average palate gets bored after that.
You know, it's like fireworks don't last. You know, they explode and they disappear. And that's kind of what that meal strategy at the French Laundry is. It's like, kaboom! And then kaboom again, and different colors, and you know, in different positions, and it's coming at you in different ways.
He manages to tease you while satisfying you.
Exactly.
Finally, the day came to experience those famous fireworks ourselves. Because they're such purists about cooking and the fine dining experience, we have to be very discreet about our use of the camera. So bear with us as we take you on this experience. It is now time for lunch, exactly 1 o'clock. So with the agreed upon flip camera in hand, my producer and I embarked on what can only be described as a culinary odyssey. It's an 05 vintage. Especially a real chef. And this is the 1989 Chateau Riesec saucer. It's like a movie. This is my favorite. Absolutely good. The campagna is wholly lightly in sourdough. Finished in a truffle. Separate versus and it's 2 hours after the
Udon.
Will this ever end? Will this ever end?
Pairing with chickpea panisse.
This is an Earl Grey sorbet.
It is absolutely amazing. We've been here for 3 hours.
This is Oremos Tokay Azu.
Course 12 or 13. I've lost count.
Then you have the mousse of chocolat blanc over that.
That is incredible. Especially made donut. Oh gosh. Oh gosh pretty much sums up a French Laundry meal. It's after lunch, we're going to the kitchen. Although the most astonishing thing after experiencing that extravaganza was realizing this tiny kitchen was revving up to do the whole thing all over again, this time for dinner.
I see us getting very, very busy right around 6 o'clock.
A meal that can take even longer thanks to even more corsets, and without wine costs $270 a person.
The price of the meal is really driven by the price of the ingredients, and of course my support for the team. So this is my kitchen at home, which unfortunately doesn't get really a lot of use, and you can really tell that because these pots were, well, I think they're like 15 years old now, and there's still some of them.
They're still in wrappers.
There's still some of them in their wrappers.
We're getting a rare look inside the great chef's home. I'm going to congratulate you because there are some things that are slightly out of place.
Slightly.
He shares this not surprisingly fastidious house with his partner in life and business, Laura Cunningham.
This here is the woman who actually ran the French Laundry as a laundry in the early 1900s. So it's interesting. So there's a lot of memorabilia in here, a lot of history.
It turns out that by the time Keller stumbled across the French Laundry in 1992, he was just emerging from an almost historic crisis in his own life. Since his days with his mentor, Chef Renan, Keller had spent almost a decade building his resume and reputation along the East Coast and in various restaurants throughout France. Then in 1986, he was finally given a shot at co-owning a New York restaurant, Raquel. Its financial collapse gave Keller his first bitter taste of public failure.
I learned that I didn't know everything, which is somewhat of a difficult thing to do. And that if I was ever going to be successful, I needed to have around me individuals that were better than I were, that knew more about operations than I did.
But you learned you had to diminish your ego a little bit.
Yeah, the ego or maybe a little bit of arrogance.
Keller next landed a gig as executive chef at the Checkers Hotel in Los Angeles. But that also ended abruptly when the owner decided to sell. So at the age of 39, Thomas Keller suddenly found himself lost and without a kitchen to call his own. Russ Parsons believes those dark days gave Keller the courage to take some frightening but calculated risks.
You know, he was able to say, You know, okay, I've had these experiences. I know what happens when you have lots of investors, when you're operating a restaurant on somebody else's money. I'm gonna, you know, even if I have to start very, very small, I'm gonna start with predominantly my money. I'm gonna always be in control of the experience, and I'm gonna live and die by my abilities and my dream.
Why the Napa Valley?
Well, the Napa Valley, because the French Laundry was there. I discovered that restaurant. And I fell in love with that restaurant. I fell in love with the modesty of it. I fell in love with the history of it. I fell in love with that little corner of Washington and Creek Street. It felt right.
It took 2 years to raise the money to buy the restaurant from its previous owners, and Keller spent the last 15 buying up the homes nearby to house himself and his staff.
So this is what's been coined as the Bocuse House, and it's the Bocuse House because this is where we did the first training. This became the training center for the Bocuse d'Or competition.
This is where Keller will help train the American chef who will enter the biannual competition in France, a sort of Olympics of cooking.
This is also is our research and development kitchen.
The house may have its practical uses, but it resonates with Keller for personal reasons.
I mean, there is right around the corner here, my father's corner. You know.
Your father's corner?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Well, it's a picture of my father in the farm truck.
Your father came back into your life decades after leaving your family when you were 5 years old. And he moved right next door, literally.
Yes, yes.
You guys became really close.
Yes. The last years that I was with my father were some of the best years of my life, I think. To be able to share some of my successes with him and to be able to understand him better, because remember, I didn't grow up with my father, I grew up with my mother. So to be able to spend those times with my father and to see how he interacted with the young team that was at the restaurant was extraordinary.
Before his father passed away in this house, Keller cooked him his favorite meal, spaghetti and meatballs.
It was a very emotional thing, you know, to be with your father when he passes away. But it's also a very natural thing, and I feel really blessed to have, as difficult as it was, to have had that experience, to be with my father, you know, at his last moments.
Having lost both his parents, it's perhaps no surprise that at 55, Keller is now reflecting on life and his future. He and Laura Cunningham are engaged to be married, but the pressures of being one of the world's greatest chefs has made having a family a challenge.
And it's just now where I'm starting to think about what is that next part of my life. And you know, I see young children today, and I go, that would be pretty cool. But we'll see.
What is the legacy that you hope you will leave?
It's hard to say. You know, other people define your legacy. You just go to work every day and you do what you do because you think it's the right thing to do. You have to progress on. You have to evolve. You have to. What is the next stage in your life? And so I've kind of gone from being the franchise player, if you will, to being the coach or the manager. But the cook in me is still there, and the desire to cook is as strong as ever.
That's our program for tonight. Remember, you can find us 24/7 on the web. And be sure to like SoCal Connected on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. I'm Michael Okwu. Thanks for watching. Good night.